I wrote a book called Painting for the Brain, and I've given a lot of courses on this subject, and we're planning some next year, in the year 2020. It's a painting I made, and it's called The Allegory of Painting, and it is very much related to the things I study and the things I'll be talking about in Painting for the Brain course. We'll talk about techniques, how to most efficiently represent things, how to use colors, how to use hatching and scaling. But the most important thing, I think, is how to learn to use your imagination. You unleash your own creativity. And I'm also a professor of computer science, information science. I'm a philosopher. My subject at this moment is philosophy of information. And I say to my students, the essence of creativity is uncertainty. Because if you know what you're going to make, it's not creative. So the essence is that you learn to hand yourself over to the unknown. And what I even is a kind of heavy term, but to listen to your soul. Open yourself up for things. And there's things you can do to stimulate that, but there's also theory behind it. So my definition of creativity is goal-oriented organization of randomness. So randomness is extremely important. Randomness is letting probability, letting unexpected things in your work, in your life, and have the trust that you're capable of dealing with them. So one of the things I do as a painter is I do emergent painting. I call it pareidolia. Pareidolia means that it's the phenomenon that our brain is eager to see meaning in things. If you see a cloud, suddenly becomes the head of a dog or a face or a dragon or something like that. So we are used to seeing meaning, or our brain likes to see meaning in seemingly random structures. So as a painter, I often start with this. This is an example. There's nothing going on, but if you look for a while, well, actually, this could be a head, this could be a leg, this could be the torso of a guy. And if he is here, then maybe there's somebody else approaching him. Right? There's things going on. So if you look long enough, you might be able to see a whole story in this. Now, if you don't like that, you go like this, and we say, well, actually, there's a horse here. You see? Front legs, and I need to work on the head a bit, but there's a horse here. So what I could do is this, and if you create these random structures, then by nature, and if you have trained yourself, you're going to see images in it, and you're going to see your fantasy is going to work. And so what I do is I work on these kind of blobs of paint, and then and these are things that already maybe for 5-6 years in my studio. Then I start to make forms. This were nothing was going on, but suddenly there's a kind of heroic guy and a lady. One of the reasons I didn't continue with this painting, I thought it was a bit too romantic actually. It was a bit too Daphne du Maurier-like or something like that. Here's another one. There's a kind of also maybe a guy in a cave. I drew stalagmites and stalactites, and there's a kind of ghost hanging around here. So in this painting, in the beginning was, and I can show you the picture, and maybe you can later on show it in the movie too. It was in the beginning only a blue set of blobs with some color. And pretty soon I discovered this strange head of a bird, which is actually a kind of repetitive form because it has a strange head of this bird. And then pretty soon I discovered there was a lady here. And I decided already early in the painting that she was probably creating something, a world or something. But I didn't know what to do with it. And this is maybe a crusader or some medieval knight. There's a kind of Jane Eyre-like old woman here. There's a younger woman here. And so gradually there's a story developing in interpretation. And I let it go. I develop it. It took me 4 or 5 years. For a couple of years, this was in my studio, and it was like a riddle that didn't have a solution. I couldn't find a solution. And then at some point in time, I thought, she's painting. It's about my job. She's painting. I gave her a brush in her hand. She creates her world, and these are all the demons of her imagination that are protecting her from the void. This is a kind of fear I have from nothingness and stuff like that. So I suddenly realized that the painting was, I called it the allegory of painting. And here it is. And people like it. It's very beautiful in terms of color. It's very fascinating image. Now, an interesting thing is that if you work with these techniques and you know how your brain works and you have the trust, because it's not the brain, it's the soul actually, or your psyche or your mind, then by feeding your imagination with these kind of stimuli. Some painters use drugs to do it, like LSD or opium, or a lot of booze in terms of the Rimbaud and Verlaine and those kind of poets. But you can do it without this stuff. And if you succeed in and have because you need to know your anatomy and your colors and your techniques. But if you have this kind of control of your medium, and you learn to listen to these kind of signals, then a very interesting world and possibility of creating art opens itself. And I would like to explore this with some. I do it already with my students. Sometimes we do exercises where one student starts with a form and the other has to give an interpretation, and we kind of go over the table, and the most wonderful things emerge that were not planned. And there's lots of other exercises you can do. I'm not saying that you're going to be a full-blown artist when you leave, but I think I can give you some impressions and some experiences that will help you to be creative.